and whether we should care about it. Had we been doing this talk 6 months ago, 8 months ago, around the time in 2021 when Meta, or Facebook changed its name to Meta, would have been a different conversation. We were at the top of the hype cycle with the metaverse. Massive investment. In 2022, I believe 120 billion was invested in the metaverse in the first 5 months alone. And it was all positive. Since then, we've had Disney laying off staff in the metaverse.
Thank you.
Put that in your pocket.
Yeah, thank you. Since I wasn't mic'd up. Since then we've had Disney laying off staff in the metaverse, Meta cutting back. So the picture is more unclear, but we'll go through where we are with it. So let's look at the world as it stands at the moment. Sorry. So let's look at the world as it stands at the moment. So where are we in this big wide world that we're in, right? So population's increasing, maybe to the detriment of the planet, but we're expecting that by 2030, there's 8.5 billion people that are essentially in the world. From a telco point of view, one of the big successes, especially when you look at that McKinsey article in the 90s, which said mobile phones are a fad, it's going to go away. You've got over 90% penetration. So we're expecting that in 2024 we have 7.4 billion, and 2030 8 billion smartphones. IoT devices, so I've got my colleague Roland Mayer at the back there who does a lot with IoT. But we're expecting 30 billion IoT devices by 2030, maybe more. In terms of the one that shocked me, we're moving towards a world of wallets. I keep saying this, we're moving towards a world of wallets, away from bank accounts, away from the wallets in our pockets to digital wallets. In 2024, we're expecting that there'll be 4 billion digital wallets, right? We've got the Apple wallet, Google wallet, other wallets, which are now acting as a gateway to financial services, new ones like Buy Now, Pay Later, Apple Pay, different forms of finance. But 4 billion, that's over 50% of the world's population will have a digital wallet in 2024, and we're expecting that goes to 5.6 billion in 2030. But what about blockchain? Blockchain, in terms of adoption, hasn't taken off at the same speed. So only 320 million, not billion, 320 million digital blockchain wallets or crypto wallets. And there's a big question mark about how that will move as we go to 2030. And in terms of the metaverse, roughly in 2024, we're expecting 400 million users, maybe more now if the Apple headset comes out. But then going up to 700 million users by 2030. I actually think it could be more. So what are the key points here? Key points, AI. The big story of this year has been AI, and the fact that ChatGPT has managed to amass over 100 million users in 6 weeks. I think that's been the story. And if we look down this, the forecast for the size of the metaverse will, I think, depend on how well it works with mobile phones. So there's 2 dimensions to that, the evolution of the headset to mobile and how those 2 things go together, because you've got 8 billion people there. And I think it will depend on how it integrates with wallets. So I just like to put this slide up, which is basically saying, can Web3 AI change the world? Right. So a lot of talk about Web3 AI and the metaverse. Certainly, AI is the headline of this year, right? It definitely has grabbed the headlines. But it works with other things, right? And at the center of this diagram, I've got the 5G, because none of this works without connectivity, right? And when we start looking at the potential of telcos, we've got to remember that we are at the center of it, but just not getting enough of the value chain. So blockchain can connect infrastructure and change trust. If we look at it, DeFi has changed finance, right? DAOs have changed the business entity, automatic businesses controlled by smart contracts. Smart contracts linked to smart legal agreements can actually change law. In the UK, smart contracts are actually legal, right? They're law. Generative AI can change intelligence, right? The way we work, there's talk about 300, Goldman Sachs estimate that 300 million jobs could be lost to AI by 2030, 300 million. But there's another argument that many other jobs could be created by AI, so we don't know how that will balance out. Tokenization can change ownership and portability of assets. 5G can generate new applications on the move. There's a lot of talk about autonomous cars and needing autonomous level 4, low latency connectivity. 5G has taken us a step further. The metaverse will consume a lot of, or demand a lot of connectivity, and we're expecting 5G will be at the center of all of these things. And the metaverse, what does the metaverse do? It can extend the boundaries of experience, as was highlighted yesterday, but also it does one more important thing. It removes geography, right? It removes the ability or the need for people to travel, which we'll explore a bit later. Right, so what are some of the questions we need to answer, right? So what is the metaverse? How big is the metaverse opportunity? What are the timelines and how will it evolve? Will there be a metaverse, one metaverse or many? What is the technology behind it? Will it be based on Web 2, Web 3? What is the relationship to AI? How will it impact people? And what is the role of telco? Right, so we'll just go through that. So what is the definition of the metaverse? Right? So this is my definition that I came up with last year, which is that it's a digital world which exists alongside the real world and provides a digital operating system. So I repeat that, digital world which exists alongside the real world and provides a digital operating system on which applications are built that provide a shared virtual reality experience, economy, business models, and interoperability across users, ecosystems, and communities. And I think the key thing I want you to focus on there is that the metaverse, in my view, is an operating system. It's a new operating system, in my view, akin to the one which iOS launched for the iPhone in 2007. And the key thing is it will draw on different technologies so that new immersive applications can be built. And we kind of saw that yesterday in the Apple announcement. So let's go into the Apple announcement. So what did it actually mean, right? So they announced a new headset, which is called the Apple Vision Pro. It's been in the works for many years. And what I really respect about Apple is that they took the time to make sure that the ecosystem and the content applications were in place before they launched it. So when it launched, they spoke about 100 game titles that are available straight away. They've done a deal with Disney Plus, so you've got 3D movies available straight away. There's App Store applications available straight away. All of them will work on this. And it basically becomes the gateway. It becomes the new internet browser. It becomes the new gateway to access content. So what will it do? Right? It's going to change the way content is created and consumed. It will change communications, new collaborative, immersive FaceTime. So basically at a couple of clicks, I can join with you and you, and we can all be in a FaceTime together in the same environment, or we can pick a location. Let's do it in Tahiti or Hawaii. So that it's changing the way that we collaborate, the way we communicate. It's going to lead to an explosion of data as people are more involved, and there's new data being created. We'll change applications as ProVision becomes the new gateway to access resources. So resources, they're already releasing APIs for developers, and I think that's why we've got this gap to launch until 2024. So there's going to be new applications that are built specifically with using the capabilities. And it will change the way we interact with AI, right? So I've got a saying that the metaverse is actually AI on Earth, right? So if you think about 300 million jobs being lost, some of those are white-collar jobs, right? That's you going to a passport control person or going to a call center or interacting with people to get information. How's that going to happen? Is it going to be on your phone? No, it's not. you're going to go into a virtual call center and interact with a chatbot that looks like us. So the metaverse becomes the means for AI to personify itself and interact with humans. And that will be critical to that leap in terms of AI playing more of a role in those white-collar, everyday business processes. But how will users move between Apple, Android, Meta, Roblox, Fortnite, and all of these metaverses that are being established? Because on the other hand, the big story before this was all about Meta, right? Meta investing, I think, $20 billion a year, in the metaverse. Roblox has, millions of users. Meta has millions of users. Fortnite has millions of users. So are we just going to have these discrete metaverses where, you can do things in Apple, you can do things in Meta, you can do things in Roblox, but you can't port between them, you can't carry value between them, your identity doesn't work between them, your assets can't be transacted between them? Or is the metaverse, if it's really to realize its potential, going to be interoperable? And what role will telcos play? So this is something I drew up a while ago and posted. And it really talks about making a call in the metaverse. But there is a point I want to make in this. So this is talking about the challenge for communications. Because as you go into the metaverse, you move from the circuit switch communication, which is phone to phone or device to device, to new forms of communication, teleport calling, which is about how you can communicate within different worlds, right, but within virtual worlds and across them. And obviously, to do this in real time and with persistence and with some recourse to jurisdiction and legal contracting, there needs to be an identity, right? There needs to be something that links. I can have 10 personas in the metaverse, right? I can be 18 again with a six-pack. But that's not who I really am. And yes, for some environments, that's fine. But if I'm going to start contracting or dating or going for a job, somebody needs to be able to check my credentials and my identity, right? So there needs to be an identity. And this is where I think telcos can really play a role. We're trusted. We have something called a phone number. And that phone number actually links, in most cases, to a person. It links to KYC. It links to AML. It links to their geography. So my big question here is, okay, number one, could the phone number be the digital identity we're searching for so that we can travel between different worlds and our devices as well, Roland? And if that is the case, how does communication evolve in the future? Right? How do we do, messaging and communications within a metaverse environment between devices and people and organizations? And that, I think, is where we have this physical to physical, which we know, but physical to virtual and virtual to virtual. And I see this expanding going forwards. So how big is the opportunity? I don't even need to look at the slide for this one. So by 2030, McKinsey have said that the metaverse opportunity will be worth US $5 trillion by 2030. They're doing their best to back out of it since it was published. But actually, I posted on this yesterday, and one of the things about the Apple announcement is that it was wonderful. I think the technology is wonderful. I love everything they do. I have an iPhone. I'm bought into the ecosystem. But at $3,500 US, Apple are building at this point in time a metaverse for the few, right? And it's wonderful if you can afford it. But what about the people who can't afford it, right? The 1.75 billion unbanked, the people in developing countries looking for an opportunity. So for the metaverse opportunity to be 5 trillion, it needs to go beyond Apple. I think Apple have 1 billion customers, but at that price point, it's not going to be penetrating the economy. So what's going to drive the opportunity going forward, right? So I think there's one thing, is that the link between metaverse and people with phones is going to be critical, right? So I think the headset is a distraction. I think it is the way to go. I think it is one step to the metaverse. But I don't see access to the metaverse as all or nothing, meaning I think there'll be different layers, right? So you go to buy a Louis Vuitton bag for your wife, or your wife goes to buy a Hugo Boss suit for her husband. it may be that you're satisfied with viewing that on your phone, right? So you're a normal size, unlike me, and you can buy it off the shelf and you know it's going to fit, or you know the color and you can buy it. It could be that, depending on whether you bought one before, that you want a more immersive experience, in which you go to level 2 of immersiveness, right? So you may want to go to a medium fidelity, augmented reality view, right? Which could be actually on a headset or on a monitor or whatever, where you get a better view in bigger spec. And then the third level is that you move forwards, and you may actually want to really look at this. You may want to see the color in depth. You may want to see it moving from different angles, in which case you put the glasses on. But to get to 5 trillion, not everyone's going to get a set of glasses, especially at $3,500. So the mobile phone adoption will be key. That's the point I want to make. And what will drive it? So some of the applications that we're seeing, Apple came out with some of them: gaming, health, communications. But some of the other ones I see, I think social media will be absolutely massive. I think advertising will be massive, and I think education will be massive. With a huge new data economy that's coming up. How long have I got left?
About 5 minutes.
All right, so I'm going to have to whiz through the juicy slides now.
Yeah, if you want some questions, Dave.
Okay, so just running through this. What does the metaverse look like, right? So I believe that mobile and connectivity are at the heart of the metaverse. If you look at the metaverse, I believe I don't believe the metaverse links in isolation. I believe the metaverse is an operating system. So the metaverse will include Web 2 platforms and internet platforms. It will include Web 3, fintech, open banking. It will include AI. And I think the power of the metaverse will be to bring these things together for new business models, for new customer experiences. But at the heart of it, mobile, as I've described before, and connectivity sit at the heart of all of these things, right? I believe that we're creating a new layer 2 to power the metaverse. I believe that 5G, blockchain, Web 3, wallets, and mobile are all at the heart of this new layer 2, which sits on top of the infrastructure. There's different metaverses, right? So we've got consumer metaverse, which we've spoken about. This is retail. This is retail, and you've got different examples here. We're talking about retail, education, training, socializing. You've got the industrial metaverse, which is something that I'm familiar with IoT, so digital twins, augmented reality, etc. I believe the power in terms of the new metaverse economy will come from the shared metaverse. And this is where you're talking about the creator economy, the producer economy, the data economy, the content economy, virtual businesses, gig economies. And I believe that this is where the metaverse will really power new ways forward. What does the technology look like? So this is a schematic of an architecture, and you're seeing that as an operating system, this is where the metaverse can draw on Web 3, Web 2, AI, mobile IoT, enterprise systems, internet, cloud, processing and rendering, blockchain and 5G, and fixed connectivity as a layer 1. But it's those two things at the top which will be the key, right? How do you blend these technologies together to create that new value-added customer experience? And how do you build these applications at scale? All right, just going to go. So what are the keys to the metaverse? Right, so quickly, AI. I think the token economy is going to be important because the metaverse will take off when you can port value, when you can port your identity. Digital identity obviously then becomes key. I think we could play a good role in that. I think the phone number is that digital identity. The world of wallets will be absolutely critical. And I believe that will be an interface financially to the metaverse. And I believe mobile, low latency connectivity, cloud infrastructure is key. Just going to whiz through these two slides, right? So one of the things you're looking for is businesses, right? So how do we know that a business is right for the metaverse? So again, we've got two axes here, right? One is the level of immersiveness. The other is the impact of removing geography. And quickly, we can see that there's some businesses which are bang on for this. So metaverse universities, right? Remote medical procedures, virtual car showrooms, metaverse entertainment, metaverse land are some of the areas that are taking off, but they're the ones where the value added of immersiveness is high and the impact of removing geography is high, right? This is a feature set, and you guys are getting some good, so I'm writing a book on the metaverse, you're getting this straight. So the feature set for the metaverse, just going through it quickly. So you've got immersive experience. So that's been all the focus with the glasses. You can have immersiveness, you're really there, removing geography, I think, is the biggest one, right? Portability of identity, portability of assets. Bringing AI to life, I think, is going to be massive. That's how those 3 million job savings will be realized. Interesting, Apple got this as well, bringing people back to life, right? So they showed being able to go back in your pictures and being able to immersively interact with people from the past. And it could be members of your family, it could be figures from the past where we have enough data to bring them back. We've all seen the conversations between Elon Musk and Steve Jobs. That is going to be a massive feature, right? History will change, and the way we interact with history is going to change fundamentally with AI and the metaverse. Immersive history at any point in time, expand scarce assets, right? So we've already seen that land can be created in the asset. In fact, there's no GDP limit to the metaverse because there's no scarcity of assets. How that works out economically, I don't know, right? Because the whole model is built on scarcity. Create multiple 3D different personas, time travel, virtual AI factories, 3D collaboration. And I've got to finish, but I'm just going to end with these questions here, right? So why should we care about the metaverse? I think the first one is not going away, right? The metaverse opportunity is developing. It's like the smartphone. I go back to McKinsey. I work with them. I always remind them about the article on mobile, right? This isn't going away. This is going to fundamentally change how we interact with content, how content is generated, and how this will become the new internet browser, right? It's going to replace Chrome. It's a new operating system, right? So, telcos will be at the heart of it. It gives us another chance to compete where we lost out in Web 2. It's a $5 trillion opportunity. Digital identity and wallets will be key. Actually, I think telcos are really well positioned in terms of coverage, trust, roaming systems, and we have the phone number. IoT and the data produced will be very important, not just in terms of feeding into large language models in AI, but also in terms of the interaction of data generated in the virtual worlds and physical worlds and how that can feed the industrial metaverse. And the other thing is that in this world of the metaverse, deep fake, fraud, are going to be critical, right? Part of the biggest industry will be about security. And actually, brand and trust are going to be key. And unlike politicians and used car salesmen, telcos actually have trust. We have a brand and we're recognized. That's why we do KYC. That's why a lot of people go to us first. That's going to be a currency, and I think we're well positioned to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Hold on, you're not escaping yet. Come back. Okay, there was an awful lot in there. My head's spinning a little bit. Any questions? We've only got a minute or two. We've got questions. Mr. McRae.
Hello, good morning. I'm Neil McRae. Fantastic presentation. Thank you very much. And it's kind of your take on it, right? So it's your take. But phone numbers, please. We're trying to kill them. We don't want to have any view of, 10 years from now, if we've still got phone numbers, someone has failed big time. So what is the identity? User internet-based is much more portable, and it's open, and it's out there. DNS systems portable, and it's out there. That would kind of be my take on that. And then also, you got 5G on there, but you didn't have Wi-Fi. Which I think is a big gap, because right now I have 2 SIMs in this phone and 2 SIMs in my iPad, and none of them have got connectivity in this room. So I think you need to think about Wi-Fi as an enabler, because there's more Wi-Fi in the world than there is anything else.
I think fixed and mobile networks go together. I think Wi-Fi mesh as well, things like helium will play a good part, because connectivity becomes a universal right. It becomes something that isn't an option. It's necessary. This is how people will earn a living. It's how they'll socialize. It becomes a right. So getting the connectivity right is absolutely there. I was highlighting the 5G because I'm assuming that the fixed, in-building, on-prem connectivity is there, but it's more about the potential to have that on the move. But I absolutely agree with you on that.
And actually, the brand and trust, I think, is a really important point. I think you're spot on with that. But just look at every moment of Apple's broadcast yesterday. They had the Apple padlock. They are, with Apple users, they are like trusted beyond belief. So, I think telcos need to keep their eyes open for that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I think the gentleman along the same row there.
Is there anyone from Ofcom in the room? No. Okay, cool. Yeah, exactly. So, good morning. My name is Agim from Applause. Actually, picking up from the conversation earlier, one of the points was around regulation and the regulators themselves. You're talking about potentially using if you do stick with mobile phone numbers as the kind of common theme or key to link everything together, even if that changes or deviates slightly. I mean, it's not easy today dealing with regulators. How do you think that's going to be facilitated going forward? Because I cannot imagine, whether it's Ofcom or central government, allowing a telco or various telcos in different regions having that level of control in terms of your customer and all the other elements in there.
I agree. I think it's a good point. So my view of the phone number is that it's self-sovereign, right? So just like mobile number portability, it becomes part of a person's identity. They control it. It essentially becomes a verifiable credential, which can be used by them and exposed to whoever wants to see it. So that's the way I see it. And I see the phone numbers as virtual, right? So I see them as virtual. The key thing is that they relate back to jurisdiction, they relate back to KYC, they relate back to AML, and all of the good things about it. But I see it as self-sovereign going forwards, not necessarily controlled by the telcos.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.